How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the rally turned riot that happened inside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. yesterday, which was Wednesday, January 6, 2021, that resulted in at least one death of a 14-year military veteran by the name of Ashli Babbitt. May she rest in peace. There were three others reported dead as a result of the riot, but I don't know their names. I don't know how they died. I don't know much. All that I've been able to read is that they had medical emergencies. I don't know what that means. If you know more about those others that died, please let me know in the comments below. But this whole thing was really crazy, really ridiculous, and really unnecessary. I got to back up a little bit here to explain to you exactly what happened, how everything went down, and then the effects of this whole thing. Now, there was just a regular rally, a Stop the Steal rally in Washington, D.C. that Trump spoke at. You had thousands of patriots down there. It was all peaceful. It was all good. No problems. Everything was all right. You know, I've been to quite a few of these rallies, and it's always love. It's a love fest. I mean, you go there, people are handing out food and giving you water, and it's like a family reunion. Everything's always good. And I like going to these rallies because you never have any kind of problems. It's usually a very safe place, a family-friendly place. Okay, and that was the case at this rally until they went down to the Capitol. Now, Trump concluded his talk at one place and told the crowd to go down to the Capitol and that he might be there at a particular point in time. But I think he did not go there at all. He went back to the White House. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. But he was saying, hey, you guys go down to the Capitol. So I don't know exactly what Trump's plan was. What I would think he was thinking is, okay, go down to the Capitol and express your grievances there. Have a peaceful protest, because in the Capitol building at that moment, there was testimony from people in Congress, the Senate, and the House to certify the election results or not. Okay, and there were some good speeches against certifying it, talking about there's a lot of voting irregularity, a lot of fraud and stuff like that. People were against it. People like Ted Cruz and others were against it. And there was some good talks. Unfortunately, the good talks, the good speeches from guys like Rand Paul and everybody else, that got interrupted when some of these guys decided to barge their way into the actual building. Okay, people say it's our house, public house. Well, you're not supposed to be in there, and you're not supposed to be in certain parts of the building, especially. I'll get to that in a minute. But some of these guys barged in the building. Now, they were climbing walls they shouldn't have been climbing. They broke windows they shouldn't have been breaking. They should not have been where they were. It wasn't just like, okay, this is an open area, we're just walking through. That's not what's going on. Guys were breaking into the space where they shouldn't have been. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is you had guys and girls fighting with the police. Now, I don't know exactly who was doing this. It could have been Trump supporters. It could have been BLM and Antifa, because understand this. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh, this was all Antifa's fault, all BLM's fault. But what I will say is that I was in D.C., what was that, like October or November of last year, just about 2 or 3 months ago, and things are still boarded up, and you still had some Antifa members down there, some BLM down there, and some of the guys and girls that I was marching with got assaulted after the march later on in the evening by some of these same people that had been out there, camped out for an extended period of time. Remember the whole Black House Autonomous Zone thing they had? Yeah, some of those same people were still there, and they were still attacking people. Even during our march, we were pretty deep, so they didn't really want to attack us, and we were in the daytime, so they, the freaks come out at night. But anyway, we saw some of them along our route, and they were heckling us, but nothing happened during the time when I was there in our march. But the whole point is that they were still there, Antifa and BLM. So I would not be surprised if they put on some of the MAGA garb and mixed in with the other patriots to rile everything up. There's videos of the window being broken and a lot of Trump supporters booing, saying, don't do that, stop it, you're Antifa. So although this person could have been a Trump supporter, they could have also been Antifa. And there were plenty of Trump supporters who were against this action because, like I said, When you go to a Trump rally, it's generally peaceful. You don't have all these problems. Unfortunately, this rally became a riot. Some people from the crowd barged into the Capitol. And this is where things get really hairy. You know, you got guys and girls fighting with the police. It becomes a riot. All right. So now you got kind of like all bets off. You got guys going into Nancy Pelosi's office, and you know they're inside the actual chambers. They're taking stuff. They're hacking into computers, allegedly, from what I heard. They trashed the building. It was not a good sight at all. Now there was one particular point where you got some people in this hallway type area. It might have been some stairs. I'm not really sure what this area was. But you had people that were trying to break into a very secure area, all right? And I think they burst a window, and the young lady that I was talking about earlier, Ashli Babbitt, she was trying to get through this window. Now, I have video of that incident. I cannot show it here on YouTube, obviously, because it involves somebody getting shot and they end up dying. I'll place that in the box below. You can see it on my website if you want to just visualize what I'm talking about. But she was trying to get through this particular window or this little piece of glass that had been broken out. And on the other side of that, it appears to be Secret Service or building security, probably Secret Service, with his gun trained on her. Okay, the whole time. The gun was fully extended. He's probably saying, don't do it. Stop, 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 freeze, freeze, freeze. I can't really hear if he's saying that or not because there's so much commotion going on. But what I do see is the gun out, extended, fully extended. Now, when she gets to a point where she's about to go through the window, he shoots. Or the person with the gun shoots. She gets shots, fall back, and then she's put on a gurney, taken out of the building, and she unfortunately loses her life. Nobody else tried to get through that window after she got shot. So I think that was the only incident of somebody getting shot inside the building. Matter of fact, I know it was. But there was plenty of flashbangs going on. There was plenty of, people getting punched in the face and a lot of assaulting police defending themselves. And it was a whole big mess. Now, the reason that they may give you, as far as those that went into the Capitol, the reason they may give you for going in there is that, well, the election was stolen. It's fraudulent. We the people, we're going to take the whole thing back. It's revolution. But all that actually happened was a brief interruption. All right. It was a brief interruption. After they cleared the Capitol out, after they arrested like 50 something people. And by the way, before I continue, the person that got shot, Ashli Babbitt, was unarmed as far as I know. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. One thing about DC, you can't have guns in DC. So if anybody was to be outside carrying a long gun or something like that, that's totally illegal in DC. You cannot do that. Okay, this ain't Virginia or across the Potomac where you could just have guns out. You can't do that in DC. But I digress. After the brief interruption, they cleaned the blood up from Miss Babbitt, unfortunately, where she died. They cleaned that up. They cleared the Capitol out, and they got right back to work. All right. The federales got called by Trump, by the way. Okay, Trump called the federales within 90 minutes. So they were down there protecting everything, clearing everything out. And that was that. It went back to work. So this whole thing about, it's a revolution, all this and that, it was a nothing burger because that was just a brief interruption. All of that was for nothing. Now, Trump did, like I said, call the National Guard, and he also called for peace. In the video that got deleted by Twitter, I'm talking about outright deleted. You can't see it at all. It's on my Instagram. I'll put that in the box, also in the website, which will also be in the box. You can see it from there. The reason why they deleted it is because while he was calling for peace and saying, hey, don't do what you're doing, he also was still saying that the election was stolen from us and from me. So for that reason, they're saying, hey, well, you're calling for peace, but you're still kind of inciting the violence because the reason why they went there is because they think that it was stolen and they can only go and do this to get it back. That's kind of what they are justifying their deletion of the video on. And quite frankly, they've been wanting to do that. The only reason why they've not deleted Trump's Twitter, period, is because he's a sitting president. If not for that, then they would have deleted it outright a long time ago. Okay. So now they feel like they finally got this monkey off their back and they could do whatever they want to do over at Twitter. And Lynn Wood, who I'm not a fan of at all, he got his account suspended, which will probably be deleted any day now. All right. So there's that. Now, the reaction to this from the mainstream media has been overblown, but appropriate, but also hypocritical. And I'll explain that. This was crazy. You got at least one death inside the Capitol, at least 3 more dead as a result, according to what the news is saying. I'm not sure who they are or what's going on. All I know is that at least one person died, which was the worst thing you could have happened. Okay, they're trying to break into the whole thing. You're assaulting police officers. You're trying to subvert the election. It's just so much going on that the media will focus on this for the next few months and years. Okay, remember Charlottesville? Like, they still talk about that today, and that was in 2017. This is 4 years later. They're still talking about that. So they're going to talk about this for years and years to come. You damage a conservative movement, all for what? You didn't even get what the actual purpose of this quote-unquote storming the Capitol was. A revolution and a revolution, an interruption briefly, and they right back to it. Okay, now you done lost favor in the Republican Party. You done lost Mike Pence, your strongest ally. You done lost everybody. And it's like, why? What's the reason? Now, I'm not going to say it's totally Trump's fault, but at a certain point, he'll take responsibility. He must take responsibility. If he doesn't want to, he has to, because he's the one that was saying, hey, go down to the Capitol. He's the one that was saying, hey, the election was stolen. Now, I think there was some fraud and some stuff like that going on. And I was saying that before the election even happened. I was saying that they were trying to engage in fraud because of the lack of voter ID. Okay, but Trump's got to be responsible in his messaging, because when things like this happen, you can't really point the finger at somebody else. They're going to blame you. And we know how the media is. When a thing like this happens, that gives them everything. That gives them all the ammo they need. No pun intended, but it gives them all the fuel to their fire. They say that Trump stokes violence and racism, all this and that. They can check off all them boxes for months and years to come. All because of what? Nothing. It didn't even solve anything. So this was just really ridiculous, unnecessary, and nobody's defending it. He has no allies in this on the Hill. No big voices are coming to his defense. It was just unnecessary. Although he wasn't the one in the Capitol, he wasn't the one saying go in there and storm it. It's going to be put on his back, because he's the one that organized the rally, promoted the rally, and said everybody go down to the Capitol. Ultimately, it's up to those that were doing it. They're the ones to blame. I blame them. So if you were out there storming the Capitol talking about we're taking the country back, now you are the reason why the movement has been set back. You are the reason why we got to go and do damage control. We got to try and fix what you have done. So congratulations. Congratulations. If you feel like things aren't going right in the country and people aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing as far as elected officials, you do things the right way. Like I said before in my live video, Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, he has Justice Democrats. He's a guy, not just him by himself, but a lot of other guys that have money. Him and other guys are behind AOC financially, and Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Jamila Jopal, all these people, they're behind them financially. They're the reason why they're in office, and their whole purpose is to subvert the Democratic Party all the way far to the left. We can do the same thing on our side. There's plenty of right-wing folks that got money and could put people in power to get the Conservative Party on the right track. Okay, that's how you go about things in a legal way. You don't say, oh, the election was taken and then just go in there and do whatever you want to do. What's the point in doing that? Okay, and I got to say one more thing right now about Pence. People are saying that Pence was a sellout and he did this and he did that. Here's one question for you. What could Pence have done legally to help Trump in this situation? Okay, people are saying that, oh, he could have changed the election. How? You send it back to the states. Okay, it goes back to the states. They look at it and send it right back the exact same way they got it. So what would be the point of doing that? It would be a slight delay. You'd be delaying the inevitable. What's the purpose in doing that? It's just like this whole thing that happened here, a brief interruption for no reason, because the exact same thing that was going on before the brief interruption will go on after the brief interruption. But now it makes us look bad. We're going to be even more attacked, even more criticized, even more censored. So we'll have less of an ability to get our message out there, to get our point of view out there. So if you were out there engaging in the melee, congratulations. You are against the censorship and the conservative movement being marginalized, but you aided and abetted in that whole thing. Trump has responsibility here. Linwood, who's a cracking lady, Sidney Powell, they have responsibility here. Ultimately, the fault is on the back of those that did what they did out there in the Capitol, but I can't absolve anybody at the top of their role in it. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that this whole thing was worth it? To go into the Capitol and make a message, make a stand for what's right. If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or was it not worth it? All they did was, just make a brief interruption that resulted in people getting locked up, people losing their life, police officers being injured, and a lot of people just not even wanting to be conservative anymore, saying, you know what, I'm independent, or I disavow this. This is terrible. I will say there's a big time hypocritical stance when it comes to how this is covered versus like a BLM or Antifa rally. I will say that. Okay, you've had plenty of BLM and Antifa rally. People get shot, killed, stabbed. Houses get burned down, whole stores get burned down. Okay, the federal courthouse, they try to set it on fire every day for like 3 months in Portland. I get that 100%. But we know that the media is fake. We know that the media are against conservatives. We know that. But we got to behave accordingly. We can't change that narrative. When you do stuff like the Capitol, all it does is just feed into that narrative even more. It makes it worse. When you're trying to gain confidence and gain trust in people that don't trust you, you don't go about it by doing what they think that we do anyway, which is not what we do. We're not the party of violence and extremism like the far left is. We're not that. But then when we do the whole thing, it makes us look like that. And if you endorse it, it makes you look like that. It doesn't help at all. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.